I trusted my wife for 12 years, until I found lingerie, luxury gifts, and a secret apartment linked to her affair. She said, "He's just a friend." But that night I filed for divorce and she lost her marriage, her respect, and her son's trust forever. I'm 38, married to Rachel, who's 36. We have been together for 12 years, been married for 10 years, and we have a son named Noah who is 10 years old. For most of that time, I believed we had a steady, trustworthy marriage. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but nothing out of the ordinary. At least that's my opinion. Looking back now, I feel foolish for being so certain. Something happened a few weeks ago that blew my mind about our relationship. It wasn't some dramatic scene or a suspicious phone call late at night. It started with something as mundane as an email notification. Rachel and I share an Amazon account. I usually handle the bills and most of the orders, so I'm used to the purchase confirmations that come in. An email about a $1,200 luxury watch for men appeared one morning while I was having coffee. I spent some time staring at the screen. That was definitely not something I had bought. At first, I thought maybe it was some kind of glitch, or maybe Rachel had accidentally ordered it, thinking it was something else. Curious, I logged into the account and checked the recent orders. That's when my heart rate increased. Mixed in with the usual household supplies were orders for lingerie, expensive gadgets, and gift cards. None of those were for me. I tried to tell myself not to jump to conclusions. Maybe she was planning a surprise for me, an anniversary gift. But the more I scrolled, the harder it became to ignore the reality that none of these purchases matched our lives. I do not wear expensive watches. The sizes on the clothing weren't hers. The gift cards weren't addressed to anyone I knew. There was something off. I kept digging and then I noticed the delivery address. It wasn't our house. My chest tightened. The orders were being shipped to an apartment in the city, not far from us but not familiar either. I copied the address into Google and found it was a rental unit. I was trying to make sense of why Rachel would send packages there, and my mind was racing. That day I said nothing. I didn't want to burst into tears without learning more. Instead, I carried on as if nothing had changed. I couldn't stop thinking about possibilities inside. Was it a secret stash of gifts? Was she helping someone else? Or was it what I didn't want to admit? It looked like someone else was in the picture. While Rachel slept next to me that night, I recall lying awake and staring at the ceiling. I wondered if she was dreaming about him each time she shifted. Although my gut kept insisting otherwise, I wanted to believe there was a straightforward explanation. I kept a close eye on things for the next few days. Every time Rachel said she was running errands or visiting her sister, I checked my email and sure enough, new orders would pop up, delivered to that same apartment. My inquiries led to suspicion, and my suspicion led to dread. I had the impression that I was looking over from the cliff's edge without being ready to jump. I needed proof, something undeniable, because if what I suspected was true, then everything I thought I knew about my marriage was about to collapse. I haven't spoken to her yet. Couldn't, not without more. Instead, I started making quiet plans to see for myself. Although I was aware of the direction this was going, a small part of me clung to the hope that I was wrong. Once the orders and the strange address were in front of me, I couldn't shake the feeling that Rachel was leading a double life. I kept my cool on the outside, but inside, every interaction with her felt hollow. When she smiled at me across the dinner table, I wondered if she'd smiled at him that same way hours earlier. When she kissed Noah a good night, I wondered if she'd kiss someone else goodbye. I didn't want to go off assumptions. I needed something solid. So, for the next week, I paid attention. I checked my email for delivery confirmations whenever she said she was meeting her sister or running errands. Additionally, a subsequent notification would always indicate that a package was on its way to the same apartment. It was like watching puzzle pieces fall into place. And I hated the picture it was creating. I couldn't take it any longer by Friday. I told my boss I had to leave early, then drove straight to that apartment building. It wasn't far, about a 20-minute drive. My heart was pounding the whole way because this was the point of no return. I parked across the street and waited. Even though I wasn't sure if she would show up, Rachel's car pulled up not long after. She entered the building with grocery bags in her hands. as if she had done it 100 times before. As I sat there, my hands hurt from tightly gripping the steering wheel. Another car arrived 15 minutes later. A man I had never seen before emerged with gym equipment. He appeared to be at ease and casual. When Rachel opened the door to the apartment, she kissed him slowly as if it were second nature as he walked right up to it. My stomach began to turn. My last glimmer of hope was dashed by that one kiss. I stayed out of the doorway. A dramatic scene was not what I wanted. I instead took a few pictures from the car. Cold, undeniable evidence includes Rachel bringing the groceries inside, the man entering, and a kiss at the door. I drove silently home. I thought it was the longest trip I had ever taken. Even though I could barely remember the road, all I knew was that everything I believed about my marriage was gone. When Rachel got home that evening, I acted as if nothing had happened. I set the table, set Noah's homework, and waited for him. She entered with a smile, gave me a cheeky kiss, and inquired about my day. I had to bite my tongue to keep from blurting it out right there. We took our seats for dinner. I casually inquired, "How is your sister doing?" Halfway through, "You've been seeing her a lot lately." Rachel did not even blink once. "Oh, she's fine," she said with a smile. "Just a little stressed, but I'm helping her out." The end of it. I could no longer hold back at that point. I took out my phone, set it on the table, and put down my fork. I began by opening the Amazon orders that included the delivery address. The photographs I took that afternoon follow. Color disappeared from her face right away. She stared at the screen, then back at me. She made an effort to remain composed for a brief moment by insisting, "It's not what it looks like. He is merely a friend. I'm assisting him with his bills." I cut her off with lingerie with a $1,200 watch with groceries delivered to his place. "While you kiss him at the door." She froze, her fork halfway to her mouth. After that, there was a deafening silence. That was the exact moment she realized she couldn't lie her way out of this anymore. The silence at the table stretched on until finally Rachel dropped her fork and buried her face in her hands. When she said, "Please, it's not what you think," her voice cracked. I stayed calm. My voice came out steady even though I could feel my pulse racing. "Then explain, because right now the only thing I see is you living a second life behind my back." She attempted to spin it at first. She asserted that the divorced neighbor she had met at the gym was merely a friend. She claimed that she was assisting him financially because he was having difficulties. She swore it was innocent, that I was blowing things out of proportion. Her narrative collapsed, however, when I mentioned the watch, the lingerie orders, and the fact that I witnessed them kiss in person. She started sobbing full-on tears. "Okay, yes, I've been seeing him. It started almost a year ago. I didn't plan it. It simply happened. He restores my sense of vitality." All I could think about as I sat there and watched her fall apart was how many times she had lied to me when she looked at me. Every errand, every sister visit, every night she came home and tucked Noah in like everything was normal. "You didn't plan it?" I asked quietly. "You created an entire second life, Rachel. You funneled money from our account, bought him gifts, groceries, all while lying to me and Noah. That's not something that just happens. That's options." Over and over, she reached across the table, desperate, her hands shaking. "Please don't tell Noah. Please, he's too young. He'll never look at me the same if you do." I pulled my hand back. "You ruined that yourself." She broke out in tears. She slid down in her chair, sobbing harder. I would go to her in those situations for years, comfort her, and assure her that we would get through it. But this time, all I could feel was distance, as if she weren't the woman I'd married in the first place. I barely got to sleep that night. I felt like the house was new to me and no longer felt like home. I drove to my parents' house the following morning after packing a bag for Noah and me. Rachel called me 6 times while I was away, but I ignored them all. I sat Noah down at my parents' house. Although I didn't tell him the whole ugly truth, I did say that his mother and I would no longer be living together. I told him both of us loved him very much and that he was the most important person in my life. Naturally, he cried. He asked if it was his fault. That question nearly destroyed me. I gave him a big hug and said, "No, buddy, it's not at all your fault. Adults occasionally make mistakes that alter the situation. But none of this is because of you. You are everything to me. Rachel showed up at my parents' door later that day. Her voice was sobbing that her eyes were swollen. She demanded to speak. She demanded an explanation. She begged me not to give up on our marriage. My parents stood firmly on my side. My father shut the door after my mother told her to leave. Noah was clinging to me inside. And in that moment, I knew there was no going back. I told Rachel over the phone later that evening, "You're done here. I'll be filing for divorce." She sobbed, pleaded, promised to change. However, the damage was already permanent. Meetings and phone calls filled the following week. I reached out to a divorce lawyer, laid out everything I had, screenshots of the Amazon orders, the apartment address, and the photos I took. My lawyer didn't mince words. This isn't just an affair. This is misuse of marital funds. And given that you're the stable parent, this gives you leverage for custody. Rachel would not suffer any repercussions. For me, it was about Noah. I wanted him to grow up in a home where trust me something, where love wasn't measured in lies or secret apartments. My lawyer was confident that Rachel's lack of income, combined with her infidelity, would limit her financial claims and give me a strong chance of primary custody. That gave me some relief, despite the fact that nothing could completely lessen the weight of what was happening. In the meantime, Rachel kept attempting to communicate with me. Some days it was endless calls, other days long text messages about how she'd made a terrible mistake and how she couldn't live without her family. At one point, she even showed up outside my workplace. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, asking for 5 minutes to explain. I walked past her without stopping. The thing that hurt most wasn't the affair itself. It was the planning. The fact that she'd used our shared family account like I was invisible. Every purchase, every delivery, every night, she looked me in the eyes and lied. All of it was premeditated. I was broken by that. At night, I'd watch Noah sleeping in my parents' guest room and wonder how much he'd remember of this. Would he resent me one day for leaving his mother? Would his upbringing teach him that love is just fleeting and disposable? I was more awake than anything else Rachel had asked me. In the interim, she was staying with her sister. From what I heard through mutual friends, she was a mess. She didn't eat much, had lost weight, and it appeared that her best friend was also leaving. The affair for which she had risked everything came to an end when she lost her familiar safety net, which included our family. Even though she didn't lose me, I felt pity for her because she sacrificed her family for someone who clearly had no intention of catching her. However, I recall Noah's expression when he inquired whether it was his fault. And all sympathy went away. The divorce process is currently in progress. My path is clear, but it will take time. Noah deserves stability, not spite, and I will fight for custody. Rachel will always be his mom, and I'll never try to take that away from him. But she won't get to tear him in the way she did with me. I can't help but feel like I was living in a story that she had already rewritten without me. When I think back on the years we spent together, she made her choice and now I've made mine. Moving on without being bitter is the most difficult part because carrying that emotion would only contaminate my remaining life. Noah must be my only priority. He's the only thing in this entire mess that matters. Rachel destroyed our marriage for a fling. I don't know what her future holds, but one thing is certain. It won't be with us. I appreciate you watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and check back for more content.